All right, guys. I'm here with Coach Wayne Ivey. Coach, congratulations on your induction into the Florida Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Thank you, sir. I'm honored and humbled, and just never thought this moment would happen. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you, what does it mean to you?
So I was thinking, Bob was talking about you have to do a speech and everything, which I'm pretty conditioned to, but it really made me sit back and think. Wrestling's been such a huge part of my life. It was a sport that I didn't even want to do in the first place. I got talked into it by Coach McCabe, and all I did was play football, and then I wrestled. I never played football again. I just fell in love with the sport. But it's been so much. It's not just about teaching me, mano a mano challenges, but it's also about how to be a team. And it's been a part of my life from every aspect, from an athlete to coaching, to seeing my kids on the wrestling mat, to the relationships that I've created, and even in my job, using it in team building and knowing when to stand strong, and even occasionally in having to fight somebody on the job. It's all inclusive, and it's just it's been such a big part of my life, and I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
Very cool. Well, I was going to ask you, for everybody who doesn't know how you started and that sort of thing, you alluded to it just a little bit in that conversation. Can you tell me some details about it? And I really want to get into, what was your first thought after a practice or a match? Like, what was the first thing after that, like your first time?
Yeah, so I was as a freshman, I started on varsity football as the center. And Pete McCabe it was his first year, it was my sophomore year now, and he became our special teams coach. And to be honest, I don't think he knew anything about football. He was a soccer player and a wrestler, but he was talking to me. He said, "You ought to come out for wrestling." And I said, "No, man, I don't want to do that. That ain't me." And he said, "It'll make you a better football player." So he knew how to manipulate me. So I said, "Nah, I'm good." And he goes, "You don't even have to compete. Just come out and practice. It'll make you better." So I said, "Okay." I said, "I'll do that." So I went out in the first practice. I thought I was going to die. It was so different than playing football. And then I was fascinated by it. I was fascinated by what I thought I already knew about wrestling and what I needed to learn about wrestling. And then the first wrestle off came, and of course I didn't go there to wrestle off, but I decided to do it. And there was a young man who has always been a great friend of mine, Kenny Maxwell. Kenny had taken second, or had placed in the state tournament the year before. He was at 189, so I decided to wrestle off for heavyweight. And I beat the 4-year senior in the first wrestle off. And he quit, and somewhere or another, as 175 pounds, I became the heavyweight for the varsity wrestling team.
Holy cow.
Yeah, so it was amazing. Some people are just born to do certain things, and I think I was born to wrestle and compete. I hate losing, so that was always the drive. But had great success. My first year, I went 25-7 and qualified for the state tournament as a 175-pound heavyweight. And then from that point on, it was everything to me.
Do you, in thinking back to wrestling and everything else, is there a specific match that kind of is salient to you that you remember the most? Oh, absolutely. So senior year, sophomore year, first year of wrestling, I wrestled made it to the district finals, and I had to wrestle a guy by the name of Randall Boyd. And he was from Palatka High School, and he was a stud. I mean, he was a stud. And somewhere or another during the match, his leg got hurt. And he decided to keep wrestling, and I locked him up in a bow and arrow, and turned him to his back, and he tapped out, and I won the district championship. So the following week we had regions, and of course he had taken second, so he was all over me. He literally wanted to wrestle me again, And so he was actually cheering for me as I was wrestling. I'll never forget it, looking over on the edge of the mat and him telling me what to do. And then I made it to the semifinals, and it was against a guy by the name of Kevin Croft from Fernandina Beach High School. He was a monster. He was a giant. And Kevin and I went into double overtime, and he won on criteria. Oh. And so I was heartbroken, man, but I remember Boyd came out back at the gym. I was sitting out there. I was devastated because I thought, I was going to be in the region finals against him. And he gave me a great talk.
and just told me, you got a lot of time, and you're gonna wrestle back through. And so those two matches have always stood out in my mind. And it wasn't just the match, it wasn't just the battle.
Sure.
It was the reward of having the conversations and actually taking somebody that I'd beat a week before, stand on the edge of the mat cheering for me.
Very cool. Is there a person that you idealized as far as when in wrestling, like you really looked up to?
Oh, there's absolutely. I'm going to be honored tonight. He'll be sitting at my table. Coach Pete McCabe, and Pete McCabe has touched so many lives through this sport. He is, at the Hall of Fame banquet, I'll be recognized tonight. PJ Cobbert is being recognized. Right. Chris Bono. Pete McCabe's connected to all three of us. Jim Reap, who was inducted a few years ago, Pete McCabe hired him as the coach at Clay High School. So Pete McCabe has always been not only my mentor in wrestling, but my mentor in being a coach. Mm-hmm. He's always he's that person that when I look back on my high school, he's who made a difference. I was blessed. I have two great parents. I lost my father in 1997. But, I had two great parents growing up, and I know so many kids don't, but I was blessed. But I also had a coach that took care of me and taught me lessons. He made us wear ties to our matches. He made us, just show absolute respect to our fans, to our parents, to him. And he holds a special place in my heart.
Very cool. As you look back, is there a personal attribute that you embody or that you have that you think really helped you succeed in wrestling?
Absolutely. I hate to lose. I am going to win. I'm going to work. I'm going to fight. You may beat me, but you are going to go through living hell to do it. And I've carried that everywhere I go. And being a law enforcement officer, I'm 44 years on the job, and I've carried it into every battle I've ever had, every search warrant we've ever done. Carried it into my election when I ran, and to be elected sheriff, the I'm going to win mentality, and not just that I'm going to win, but I'm going to outwork everybody. I'm going to out-train. I'm going to outthink, and do everything I can to win. Mm-hmm. And then if something happens that I don't, I'm going to be a gracious loser, and I'm going to work to be the winner the next time.
So if you were to look back, and this can be wrestling, but it can be life in general, and you were to give a younger Wayne Ivey a piece of advice, what would that be? Don't
eat so much. No, I mean, I've had truly a blessed life, man. I have a great family. I have my kids grew up on wrestling mats. My son grew up wrestling in not only freestyle but then high school. I had the honor of coaching my son. My daughter started wrestling. I had the honor of coaching her, and they've wrestled in state tournaments. They've wrestled in the nationals, so there's not one single thing I would change. And again, wrestling has been a big part of my life. If you look on the back of my arm, you'll see a wrestler that was drawn for me by one of my wrestlers at Vero Beach. If you look on my right shoulder, the USA Wrestling insignia is tattooed on me, and it's been a huge part of my life. And any success I've had, I would credit to having great parents, great foundation, a great coach that loved us more than he loved himself, and the sport of wrestling that's made me so many friends, so many kids. There'll be some of them at the banquet tonight that wrestled for me and now parents, and man, I've been blessed.
So last question I have for you is, and it can be wrestling, but it doesn't have to be wrestling, and it is, what would you like for people to remember most about Wayne Ivey?
Wow. So, people ask me a lot of times in my profession, what do I want my legacy to be? Mm-hmm. And obviously in law enforcement, what you want your legacy to be is that you protected your citizens. You protected those that work for you, that go out and put their lives on the line. And so, I add to that list, we have animal services under our charge at the sheriff's office. And we under our watch, we became a no-kill facility at our animal care center. But that's on the professional side of it.
Sure.
On the personal side of it, I would want people to remember me as a husband, to remember me as a dad, as a son, and as a friend that they can depend on. That when the chips were down, I would be there. As a wrestler, I would want people to look back and hopefully cherish the times that we spent together on the wrestling mat. Whether it was in the room sweating like no place ever before, whether it was having our hands raised or sitting in the corner crying because we didn't win. I would just want them to know that I loved every single moment of it.
Well, Coach, I want to say congratulations on your induction into the Florida Wrestling Hall of Fame. I want to wish you the best of luck in the future.
Thank you, sir. I'm honored. Good evening, everybody. How you doing? So Bob told me that I only got 5 minutes, and then I reminded him I'm sheriff, so I'll be up here as long as I want. I am honored to stand on this stage tonight. I'm blessed to have my beautiful wife Susan with me, my son Robert, his wife Katie, and their daughter Harper, my daughter Jana, who you heard sing the national anthem a while ago, my son Matt. Mike Cipriano and his wife Darlene, who Mike wrestled for me at Vero Beach High School, and I love him. He's like a son to me. Lindsay Tomlin, who is Coach McCabe's daughter, and then of course my high school coach, my friend, my mentor, Pete McCabe. Wrestling's been my entire life. Coach McCabe talked me into wrestling. I didn't want to wrestle, I wanted to play football. He told me to make me a better football player. He lied, it didn't. Because I never played football again. I found where I was supposed to be. Wrestling's taught me everything I've ever needed in my life. And I will tell you that I love being sheriff. But I have always loved being on the wrestling mat, being around champions, being around just the image of the sport and what it teaches our youngsters today. It has been my life. It has taught me to win. When I ran for office, I told our team we're going to run like we were 5 points down. When we get 5 points, we're tied. When we get more, we win. But let's go ahead and pin them in the first period because I'll be out of gas here very soon. It's been everything. It saved my life in fights in this job in the past 44 years. And it has truly, truly been a blessing to have all of you as friends. Bob Walker, Paul Walker, David Mitchell, I can go on and on. People that have impacted and touched my life. When I was a kid growing up, I always loved this one movie. And until tonight, I never could figure out why. I always loved the movie Brian saw. And there's a part of that movie that I'm gonna emulate tonight. Because the guy that ought to be standing on the stage isn't me. It's Pete McCabe. He has been a driving force in all of my success. And right now, Pete McCabe's out on the mat fighting the battle of his life with cancer. And as you and I know, you may be on the mat by yourself, but you got an entire team behind you. And so tonight, this organization honors me, but I'm gonna tell you that I'm gonna ask Pete McCabe to come up and take this award from me. But he's the one that should be up there. he had to get the bigger lens. Go ahead in there.